Hello, everyone. This is Tamara Hamilton, and I'm so happy to be joined today by my dear friend, Vivian Connor. Today, we're bringing you the Soulquake experience, broadcasting from Reston and from Atlanta, Georgia. Today, our theme is Dared Hope. Dared Hope. And it's a perfect theme for the beginning of 2017 because so many of us have dreams that we have in layaway. So many of us are saying, well, this is what I'm going to do when the kids grow up, or this is what I'm going to do when the mortgage is paid. And so I thought I would bring you my friend Vivian Connor from Atlanta, Georgia, because she is the epitome of dared hope. Vivian and I met in 1985 when we were both in Germany, and we were crazy enough to follow our husbands to Germany, give up our good jobs, and start life all over again. But Vivian has dared hope because she has an incredible story. And my goal in the month of January and February is to feature some of my amazing friends who have been blessings to me. So we're going to talk to Vivian today because she is a warrior. She is a 30-year educator, a certified nutritionist, a sickle cell survivor, a breast cancer warrior, and a spiritual healer. And so I thought beginning in 2017, if any of you are talking about what you think you want to do, but you can't do it, I want you to hear Vivian's story. Vivian, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And Tamara is my dear friend that has believed in me more than I have believed in myself. And I'm just so excited about this moment, having this moment to share the story that she's been telling me to share to the world many, many years. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a good beginning, 2017.
It is going to be a good beginning because there are a lot of people who don't have hope in 2017, especially after 2016. And so I thought that let's just talk about your story because I feel, and I'm saying this to everybody who's listening, and this is a global call because I have friends in Korea, in Japan, and in Germany, all over the country. And I want them to hear what you have to say to give them hope. Vivian, let's begin with the first affliction. What we're going to talk about today is how Vivian has taken her life in her hands and not leave it up to doctors and surgeons and people who have all the degrees in order to live way beyond the life expectancy of someone who's battled sickle cell since birth and also cured herself of breast cancer without chemo, radiation, or surgery. So Vivian, why don't you begin in any way you'd like to start?
Okay. So I would like to start, first of all, being born with sickle cell anemia and how devastating that was for me as a young child. I stayed sick. I was the sickly child in the family. I was in and out of the hospital constantly with sickle cell crisis, having to get blood transfusions, living on pain medication as a little girl. And then by the grace of God, the good doctors in Memphis, Tennessee, were able to give me some guidelines to live by so that I wouldn't have sickle cell crises as much as I was having them. Because sickle cell disease is a blood disease. It's when the oxygen doesn't circulate properly in your blood, and your blood actually forms a sickle shape, which causes lots of pain. But I was able to move on and finish high school, go to college. And in my college days, that's when the sickle cell trauma started back in my life. And so I had lots of people supporting me, behind me, donating blood to the hospitals, including my brother. He galvanized a whole group of people to give blood back to the hospital because they had given me so much. Mm-hmm. But as I went on and married my wonderful husband and gave birth to 2 children, and during those pregnancies, I had to have blood transfusions again. So it was recommended that, no more pregnancies for you. You know, just try to live your life expectancy out. Because basically, they had given me a short time to live, because sickle cell patients don't live a long time, but now they do. Now the technology has changed. And I had the form of sickle cell that was called SC disease. And this disease would be activated through stress. And now that I know better, eating a lot of sugar, not getting the proper rest. But one thing led to another. We were in Texas after moving to Germany. Willie had a conference in Texas, and so we flew from Germany to Texas, and lo and behold, the pain came. It was so severe. I knew what was happening. I knew that I was in trouble. And this was while we were in flight. But by the time we got to the conference and I was in a full-blown sickle cell crisis, I had to go to an emergency room, and by the grace of God, the doctors at that hospital, St. Mary Hospital, I'll never forget it, they knew exactly what to do. They started administering pain medication, fluids, and I ended up staying in the hospital for a whole month. And by the grace of God, I brought my 2 small children with me from Germany. Something kept saying, bring Chad and Kiva with you. Bring Chad and Kiva with you. Do not leave them in Germany. And by the grace of God, they were with us. And by the time I left that hospital, I had had tons of blood transfusions. The doctors were telling me, don't go back to Germany. You don't need to fly. I met this wonderful African doctor and this little hippie white doctor, and they said, Mrs. Connor, you need to take better care of yourself. And all this time, I thought I was taking care of myself. Drink more water, you know, eat more fruits and vegetables, you know, get your rest. But this profile they took of me, they said that I was high strung. I was just carrying too much stress in my body, which can trigger sickle cell disease. And within maybe 3 or 4 months, I started having these pains in my joints, in my hips, my knees, my shoulders. I couldn't even get out of bed. So Willie took me to a doctor overseas, and he was a sickle cell specialist, and they found out that I was actually, the cartilage in my shoulder joints, my knees, my hips were actually deteriorating. And the surgery that you would have to stop this deterioration, the doctor really didn't recommend it. So I had to just wait it out. So by the time I waited it out, I was walking with a cane. Here I am in my late 30s, aging really fast, walking with a cane on Tylenol 3, and I didn't want to live that way. So we came home to America, and I just, by chance, went into a health food store. And I found this book called I Cured My Arthritis, You Can Too. And the author of this book had chronic arthritis. She was actually in a wheelchair. But she said fasting helped her. So I decided to fast. I found all kinds of fasts to try. And I started trying fasting, and I noticed that when I would stay away from the standard American diet, that I had the ability to walk fluently, no inflammation in my joints, no pain. And I said, wow, this is a miracle. But at that time, I wasn't disciplined enough to change my diet or keep it up. So I had some type of relief, but I started doing more research. And by the time I started doing all my research, I met this wonderful doctor named Dr. Sabi, and he talked about the alkaline acid diet, how foods that were alkalinity that they kept inflammation down. If you ate too much acid foods, you know, you could get sick. So I decided to go to Honduras and spend some time with Dr. Sabi and did his detox and got much, much, much better. But in the middle of trying to heal from arthritis and its effects, I woke up one morning with a tumor in my breast. I felt this tumor in my breast, and I told Willie, he says, Vivian, you need to go get that checked out immediately. So I made an appointment, went to have this tumor checked out, and the whole time I was praying. I said, Lord, this just cannot be cancer with all the things that I'm going through. Please don't let this be cancer. So the young man gave me a mammogram, and he says, Mrs. Connor, the tumor in your breast looks suspicious. If you were my mother, my sister, or any female in my family, I would tell you to go see a breast surgeon. So he gave me a list of surgeons' names, and I selected Dr. White at Crawford Long. And I'm so glad I did, because she and we just had that good energy with each other. And so she said, Vivian, let me do a fine needle aspiration to check the tumor. She checked the tumor, called me back with the results, and said, it looks really suspicious. So we need to take a biopsy now. In the meantime, I'm waiting on the biopsy. 2 more tumors occurred in my breast. So I'm believing with her tampering with that one tumor, the cancer cells moved. So I had a tumor at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So she gets the biopsy done, and she calls me and she says, Vivian, I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is it is cancer. You have intraductal carcinoma confined to the ductal walls. And she said that the good news is we can get rid of it by removing the breasts. Once we remove the breasts, then we would have to do something with the second breast, because we're going to be using a saline bag. We're going to use tissue from your stomach and fat. You have an option between both of those sources. And I didn't want to choose either one of those. I just felt like it was just too radical for early stage breast cancer, because in the research I had done research in people that have had 4th stage breast cancer on their deathbed, had gone to a place called Oasis of Hope. They had gone to Ann Wigmore Center. They had gone to Hippocrates, and they were still living today. But I followed her directions, and I set up my appointment to have my breasts removed. But I had put in some phone calls to other doctors. 5 o'clock in the morning, before you called me at 6, but 5 o'clock in the morning, this doctor called me. He was one of the top surgeons, breast surgeons in Metro Atlanta. And I told him my story. He says, Mrs. Connor, the type of cancer you have a little time to really think about it, because the type of cancer you have will kill you in 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so I thought about it. Willie and I prayed about it. And something all over me spiritually was saying, don't do the surgery. I was not in a mental place to do the surgery. And so.
But I remember when you and I talked, and you told me that you had breast cancer. I remember coming home, I jumped up from my desk and I'm crying and I'm panicking. And I called you to pray that morning. And you said, Tamara, I'm not going to have the surgery. So talk about how many people like me you had to just shut down and focus.
I did. After I decided I wasn't going to have the surgery, and I told my mother, my sister, and other friends, everyone became very frightened for me. They were saying, oh no, don't do this. Don't do this, Vivian. Go on and have the surgery and then start your new lifestyle. But I knew in my heart that I was moving in the right direction. And so I decided that everybody that wasn't going to be on the same page with me, I was going to have to just shut them out for a while.
And so we were scared. We were panicking. We were like, is she crazy? Has she lost her mind?
And so I had to just go within, turn my house into a healing center. And my poor children, Chad and Kiva, Willie was taking care of them like he usually does, because the whole focus was trying to get me out of this critical state I was in. But by the grace of God, I had read this book by Dr. Norman Walker. He is the inventor of the juicer, and he talked about how juicing had cured all of these diseases. And in his book, he had the word cancer. Cancer is only your cells starving for pure nutrition. And he had all types of formulas. And so Willie and I, in the process of me working with the arthritis, I already had everything. I had the juicer, I had the Vitamix machine, I had a dehydrator, I had everything that I needed to begin this process. And that's what we did. So Willie and I set everything up, and my husband became my juice man. And I knew through Oasis of Hope, through all of this research I had done, Oasis of Hope makes sure that all of their cancer patients drink at least 64 ounces of fresh squash juice every day. And that was the goal. And Willie and I started juicing, and as my body started detoxing, I really got really sick with all of the nasty, clogged up, whatever it was, the mucus, the undigested protein, the sugar, the salt, all of that stuff started flushing out of my body. I was sick. I was detoxing really fast. And I had read the story about Dr. Day, which also used the same program. And she said that she added a cooked meal to slow up the detox, the detoxing process, so it wouldn't make you so sick. And that's when I started using plant-based foods, 1 cooked meal a day. And within a year, the tumors had dissolved. It took a year, and I had to really be strong and have faith and believe in what I was doing. But in the meantime, we had a backup plan, because I had contacted Dr. Contreras at Oasis of Hope. And so if things were going to go bad, Willie and I were going to head to Mexico to Dr. Contreras, so he could pick up from where we left off. But we didn't have to do that.
Okay.
We didn't have to do that. And one of the things that I learned through this process was it was more than just about the juicing and the foods and the herbs that I got from Dr. Sabi, because I did go to Honduras, to Dr. Sabi's center. It was also about me healing my unresolved hurts, my disappointments that I was carrying around, because society, wants you to be perfect. And I knew that I had made some decisions in my life that I was still hurting from. I hadn't forgiven myself. So through this healer, Caroline Mace, which works with emotional healing, I use the Bible and the scriptures to ask God for forgiveness and to learn how to accept who I was as a person and love myself unconditionally, and to recognize that no one is perfect, that you use your mistakes to become a better person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Vivian, during that time also, did you also do the course on miracles?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was like everything was given to me. Once I made that decision to do alternative therapy, and let me go back and tell you this. Once I informed my doctor that I wasn't going to have the surgery, she threw a fit in a beautiful way, She wrote letters to my gynecologist, because she CC'd me the letters. I still have them. She
Mm-hmm.
sent letters to my primary doctor and any other doctor I had contact with to let them know that Mrs. Connor is turning down the treatment. But at the end of the day, my gynecologist is now a naturopathic doctor. She's
Okay.
MD/naturopathic.
Mm-hmm. So you turned her into a believer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
She went back and studied so that she could have both sciences.
Wonderful.
And the research is out there now. The research shows that our lifestyle chronic diseases, most of them are caused from the foods we eat, the thoughts we think, the water we drink. It all has something to do with what we're consuming in our minds, our bodies, and our spirits.
Okay. I think that's the connection that a lot of people are not making when we talk about mind, body, and spirit, that it is a whole person, not just, well, I have breast cancer, so let me work on the physical part of that, but now I also have to work on my mind and my spirit.
Absolutely.
So other than the Bible, what are one or two books that have really impacted you healing and really not just surviving, but thriving as beautifully as you have?
Well, one of them was Caroline Mace's Anatomy of the Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
where she uses the scriptures to actually help you heal not only from your family beliefs, because
Mm-hmm.
our family beliefs, our religious beliefs, they can make us sick.
Yep, yep.
And Edgar Casey's book was the first book that was given to me in the 70s. God is Love.
Mm-hmm.
It was given to me by a friend, Linda Abdelaziz. I would never forget Linda because everybody thought she was a very strange person. And for some reason, I was always attracted to the strange people. And back in the 70s, she was eating avocados, papayas. She was meditating. She was homeschooling her kids. And she gave me this book called God is Love by Edgar Casey, where he explains what he had learned about meditation, natural healing, our Christian beliefs, which we all have a cross to bear. Mm-hmm. It's just beautiful writings.
Mm-hmm. So you have Edgar Casey, The Anatomy of the Spirit. Is there one more?
I love the writings of Wayne Dyer.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Deepak Chopra had a big part in my transformation also. Because while I was going through this process, Deepak Chopra had a workshop in Metro Atlanta. And I was determined to get to that workshop, and I did. And he was the one that helped me reestablish the point of sitting quietly. You know that message you sent out this morning
Which one? I sent out so many.
You
Oh,
sent
the
out
one
the
from
one
Maya
with
Angelou.
you sent out the one with
Maya Angelou.
right. When
Yes.
you sit quietly,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you'll hear a word from God.
Yes.
And the scriptures even say, be still and know that I am God.
Yes.
And once I learned how to be still, just sit, because when I first started closing my eyes and going within, Tamara, believe me, it was a little frightened because I was scared of myself, basically,
Mm-hmm.
what I would find.
Mm-hmm.
But once I started sitting quietly, closing my eyes, going within, and my body began to relax more, I could feel the tension in my body. It was like I had like ropes tied, tied in knots.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And
I have
those
felt that
knots,
in myself. Yes.
those knots began to unfold.
Mm.
And as those knots began to unfold in my body, I relaxed and I was able to begin to accept myself and love myself. And it's been a beautiful transformation.
Well, Vivian, one part I know for sure is that man walking around in the background, Mr. Willie Connor. Mr. Willie Connor, does he want to come and have a word today?
He does.
How you doing today,
Willie
Tamara?
Connor, how are you?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off some of the things she forgot because I was doing all the juicing while she was just relaxing.
He told us.
I was doing all the juicing, and also I was taking her around to all the healing places. She had to go way across town to get in a hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
we did so much,
Well, now listen. That's why we're doing these Zoom calls, because since you guys won't sit down and tell the story on paper, we just gonna talk it out.
Okay. We'll get it out. We got to get the message out.
We just don't talk it out because the world is waiting for a couple just like you.
And also
because you are supporting her, and then now you're the one. So Willie, you need to be my next guest and talk to us about how does a man who's been eating from Memphis, Tennessee, raised on a Southern diet, get up pork chops, fried chicken, and gravy, and
barbecue
raw for what, 5 years now?
It's 3 years, so we're working on it. But I'm so excited because each day I find out something new. I just found out how to make raw bacon now.
Oh, get out of here!
And
I might as well go ahead and book my reservations now.
It's so good, Tamara. So I found out all I need is an eggplant.
Okay, Willie, can I sign you up for next Monday?
Well, I'm sure you can. We can work it out.
Okay, and then we're going to be in the kitchen with you because I already have some videotape in Willie's Raw Kitchen.
Okay, then. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, but Willie is right, Tamara. We did hyperbaric, oxygen, reflexology, massage therapy, chiropractic. We were everywhere.
Yes, as a couple.
Acupuncture. We were everywhere.
So now, I'm looking at you, and of course, I saw you a few months ago when I came through Memphis. But what I'm noticing about you being able to stare at you without it feeling crazy, because we're on the video, is the whiteness of your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Your eyes are as white as a child's. And I notice people, I look at their eyes and I see young people, 12, 13 years old with a little bit of yellow in their eyes. And I notice that your eyes are there, the white is white. And that has to be from the diet and the cleansing that you've done over the years. So tell us now, Vivian, what is a typical eating day like for you? When you get up in the morning, what do you do? What do you drink?
Okay, so, what I try to encourage people to do, because I do get a lot of people to come by or call when they're in crisis, is you want to do preventive medicine. Right. You want you want to eat 75% of your diet in its natural, God-given state organically.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one of the things when I started on this healing path, I started eating right, but I wasn't using organic foods. And what I learned was that I was constantly putting the insecticides and pesticides back in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So through Reverend Magnus' writings, I learned to do nothing but organic foods,
mm-hmm.
as much as you can. 75% in its natural state. Now, I've been through a whole lot of different formulas.
Yeah.
So what I have nailed it down for me is to get up in the mornings and anoint my body with water. And in that water, I put the juice of a lemon, and then I may add a little cayenne pepper to get that colon moving, and a little turmeric for the joints.
Mm-hmm.
32 ounces.
Now, hope, Vivian, just for people who are listening and may not know, when you say a little cayenne pepper and a little turmeric, are we talking a quarter of a teaspoon?
Something like that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then I, wait to let that get into the cells. And then I have my smoothie. I used to go out and buy my maca and a whole lot of different herbs separately, but now I'm adding this product right now because I'm always learning something new that has a lot of the herbs in it that I already use. My beautiful daughter Kiva turned me on to that Shakeology.
Is that the Shakeology formula that you recommended to us?
Right, the Shakeology, and I put maybe some leafy greens in there, another serving of chia seeds, flax seeds. This is all to help you get the amount of fiber you need to kind of flush your system, because the most important thing is when you eat, your foods need to assimilate into your cells.
Right.
And you need to be able to eliminate.
Yes.
And so Ann Wigmore, the mother of sprouting, recommended blending years ago. Mm-hmm. So I blend foods, and then by the writings of Dr. Norman Walker, I juice. I try to get in a 16-ounce green juice every day.
So that can be kale, it can be collards, it can be spinach.
Any leafy green with fruit, and I usually add ginger. I usually add turmeric, anything you want, as long as you got those leafy greens and some fruit, basically.
Okay.
And then once you get used to that and do your research, you can add other items.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to get down a green leafy meal salad a day. Now, once I've gotten all that raw food in through blending, juicing, eating a raw salad, then I can enjoy a cooked plant-based meal at the end of the day.
So let's go back to your salad. So your salad is not necessarily buying the box of pre-washed greens, but you're adding all kinds of good things and making a meal out of that.
Absolutely.
Salad.
A meal salad. You can put anything in a salad. You can put organic, fresh corn. You can put okra, fresh okra. You can put, red peppers, cucumbers, anything, papaya. Mm-hmm. There are just so many ways to make a beautiful salad.
Right.
I've made so many salads now. I'm called upon to make salads and salad dressing. It has become my specialty for people.
I know, because I call you and say, Vivian, give me a salad dressing, and then you can go bang, 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 and I have something really special. So give us one simple salad dressing that could really make our salad pop.
Okay, so you can start out, usually salads have a combination of and oil, but you want to cut back on the oil as much as possible because instead of using oil, you can use something like nuts or seeds or tahini. Tahini is like a nut butter made from sesame seeds.
Okay.
So I usually start out with, let me give you the tahini maple. Maybe
hold on. Everybody who's listening, get your pens out. I'm reaching for my pen. All right, Vivian, this is the tahini maple.
Okay, so we're going to use maybe 1/4 cup of tahini.
All right.
3 tablespoons of maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
A tablespoon of Bragg's.
Okay.
And
that's Bragg's liquid amino acids, which you can get
absolutely
at Whole Foods or Wegmans. Bragg's liquid amino acids.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we can do, I think maybe 1/4 cup of the apple cider vinegar.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we have the tahini, we have the tahini, that's our oil. Right. We have our Bragg's, that's our salt. We have our maple syrup, that's our sugar, and then the Dijon mustard, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dijon mustard is like a magical ingredient, especially when you're going raw. Is that right?
Absolutely.
That is the jalapeno pepper.
Right.
Okay.
A clove of garlic.
Now, for everybody who's listening, don't add the jalapeno pepper. I just mentioned that. That's
right.
Not the recipe. Okay.
Yeah, and then you put that in a mason jar and just shake it up.
Okay.
Now, if you don't want to use the tahini, you can use the extra virgin organic olive oil.
Okay.
And sometimes Willie and Willie is not on oils now, but sometimes you can use hemp oil, flaxseed oil, grapeseed oil. If you're going to use oil, try to use those oils that are as close to nature as possible and not as processed as some oils.
Okay.
So that's why they say organic, extra virgin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Even coconut oil.
Okay. Great. Well, Vivian, we're coming down to the little bit over the halfway point. So I want to know if anybody who's on the line would like to ask Vivian a question. We don't have a lot on the line, so we're going to be back at 8 o'clock tonight. So that at 8 o'clock tonight, I realized that when I did the flyer, I didn't put a date on it. So that was God's way of saying, this is your nice dry run before we get more people on at 8 o'clock tonight. But are there any questions for Vivian from anyone who's in the audience? And what I will do is I'm going to unmute. Okay, somebody's got something on that's giving a little reverb. So let's see, I'm unmuting the lines, I think, if I can figure out how to do. Okay. And if you don't, all right, anybody have a question for Vivian?
I do. Hi, Vivian. It's great meeting you.
Say your name, Bronwyn.
My name is, I'm Bronwyn. I just retired, and Tamara has been my mentor forever. She's always changed my life. And
I know.
Always in somebody's business.
But I'm glad to hear you. I mean, this is actually aligned with what I'm trying to do, to give you a little bit of information. You know, my household is plagued with all kinds of diseases: kidney failure, brain cancer. So hearing what you have to say confirms what I know, because I have spent a good 2 years researching on cancer prevention and arthritis and all that. So my question to you is this: how do you determine what a good organic product is? Because although they claim they're not, what's the difference between natural and organic? And if I am to go to one source knowing that that is the place to go, what would that be?
Well, all organic products should have a 5-digit number on the label with the starting with the number 9. Started with the number 9. Certified organic products go through a certain certification process, and they're the only ones that are labeled with the number 9. So the number 9 is the first number, and then I think 4 or 5 digits after that.
Okay, so organic products by if you go to an organic food store. So if I were to do Trader Joe's, that's safe, or so I just need to look at the label to make sure that I have this starting number 9 series.
Right. Organic foods are the only ones that have a certified label. I know this to be true because I used to buy my wheatgrass from a farmer here.
Right.
And he refused to go through the process to have his wheatgrass labeled as certified organic because he knew it was organic and he was fighting Whole Foods. Right. So Whole Foods dropped him from all the Whole Foods that he was providing wheatgrass from, and they picked up another wheatgrass farmer that had gone through the certification process.
Okay, this is great.
And then you search out your organic farmers. That's what Willie and I do here in Georgia. There are lots of certified organic farmers, and they have their own personal farmers market off of North Decatur Road on Saturdays. I mean, look in your neighborhood and find out where they are. Even if I told this to my children, if you eat meat, find you a farmer that grows his meat on his land and feeds the animal the proper things. And when he does his slaughtering, he can contact you and you can get your meat fresh as possible. Yeah. A lot of people are doing that, even with their eggs, milk, and all of that. It's worth doing it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you, Bronwyn. And I want to give credit to Bronwyn for being our technical assistant today.
I know it. Thank you so much.
You guys are doing excellent.
Well, thank you, Bronwyn, our teacher. Anybody else with a question?
I have a question.
Say your name.
This is Kiva Williams, daughter of Vivian Connor.
Hello. You are just a moment. She is not just Kiva Williams. She is Coach Kiva with the Women's Accountability Facebook page that is making me get up and work out every day. I'm glad you're here. I had to give you a big shout out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, you see where I get my motivation from, my mother.
Of course.
So, Mom, I guess my question for you is, when you come in contact with people who are maybe have a similar story as you, like, how do you determine, I guess, how much you share of your story? Because you don't want people to do exactly what you're doing, but you want them to, I guess, take your feedback and your guidelines and kind of say I'm a cancer survivor or I'm dealing with cancer. I guess, how would you determine the advice you're going to give that person as far as, should they go the medical way or go the natural way? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, I'm not an MD. I'm not allowed to give people any type of medical advice. But what I have done in the past is to give people a list of resources.
Mm-hmm.
There's this woman in California, and I just love her to death. She sent me a portfolio of all of the centers in America, all of the doctors in America that actually work with cancer patients without chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. So I would give them a list of resources that they could call on their own, and they have to decide on what they want to do and who they want to work with.
Okay. Okay.
Kiva, I think that was a great question because some people may not have the will or the resources to do what your parents did, not just Vivian, but your parents.
Right.
But even I have had friends who had cancer and they wanted some support, and I would call Vivian on their behalf. And many times it was to get a list of books or resources, because she's right. You don't want to give people like, go do this and do that, and then it might backfire on them because they didn't do it exactly the way she did it.
Exactly.
So it's the resources. There's I think it's called the Bruges Breast Cancer Survival Guide. And a friend of mine had followed that, which was a series of detox and teas. And that's just one of the books that I keep on a list. And right now, there is a book, I don't remember the name. It might be from the people who did the China study, but they've got some cancer survivor cookbooks where they're giving recipes and smoothies. And again, they too say this is a resource.
Awesome.
Yes. But we're almost at the end of our time. So Vivian, we were going to go an hour, but I'm losing my voice. So I want to thank you for this wonderful trial run, and then we'll get back together at 8:00 tonight.
Thank you so much. And one thing I wanted to tell the audience is that Tamara has been working with me on this for years. She even invited me to Colorado to speak at the NEA's conference, and I'll never forget that, Tamara.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful thing, and I got a lot of positive responses. I had a lot of people following me, wanting me to work with them. It was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Tamara.
Well, I think this is our season, Vivian. This is our season. And the song, the singer William Murphy, he has a song, I think it's called It's Growing. And he says, I planted a seed in the ground and it's growing. And I'm knowing. And it talks about the blessings that are coming. So know that you put plenty of seeds in the ground. You have been tilling your soil for a long time. And the growth that has come up in other people, you'll never know how many people you have helped and influenced. But this is the year. 2017 is when we take our dreams off the shelf and make something happen. Because God has blessed us, and you know what he said about your talent. You got to use them.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Tamara. I want to thank you because you know how my mom is. I've been trying to work with her also.
I know.
She's very, good at telling me, her daughter, to pursue my dreams, do this, do that, or, pushing me to, but I'm like, Mom, okay, I get that. Thank you. But can you please do the same? So I really appreciate you getting her out of her comfort zone.
I don't know anybody with a story like this, so I'm not letting her sit on this story anymore.
Right, exactly. It's no reason for it.
And we got Miss Bronwyn here, who's like Miss Technology Diva Queen.
Thank you.
And she helped us, and she helped us to get started this morning, took us on a trial run. And I see great things coming from this because Vivian is eloquent in her storytelling. And also she's been a teacher for 30 years, so she knows how to talk to people.
Right, exactly.
So stay on.
Plus, it's her true real life story. So it means you just speak from the heart and it comes out.
That's right. See, Spike Lee, this is what Spike Lee should make a joint out of this.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, I'll post it again up on Facebook, and Vivian, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
We'll see you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Good job, Mom.
Bye, love.